that. First, we'll start with the symbolic side, right? Tarot is a symbolic system. It's a collection of archetypal symbols that express this nuance, complexity, the breadth and depth of human experience. But that comes with a catch. Symbols are multivalent, meaning that they have all of these multiple expressions: good, bad, neutral, and everything in between. Symbols also don't have a singular definition. I think the best way to think about it is that a symbol or something that looks like a symbol that has a singular definition is a sign. So Jung talks about this. It has to have only one meaning. Like when you see a stop sign or a traffic light, red means stop, green means go. That kind of symbol has to only mean one thing. So it becomes a sign, right? But the symbol has this multi-layered quality to it that we could say it's like kaleidoscopic, right? So it's always kind of has this form and this structure that hovers around different sort of themes and ideas, but it's usually anchored in something essential or something core. But, like the symbol of the sun or the symbol of the moon, those don't have a singular definition of just, say, enlightenment or just, feminine mysteries. The sun can be vitality, it can be the heroic solar, ego quality, it can be enlightenment. Or the moon, it can be, as I said, the feminine mysteries, it can be the dark side of the psyche and the unconscious, it can be the ways in which the tides move us. So the symbol has a life of its own. It kind of breathes and shifts and moves. And the tarot, because it's a symbolic system, it shifts, it kind of takes different forms. It's very mercurial, and that makes it both interesting and fun to work with, but very frustrating, because if it only had a singular meaning, things would be much it would be like much more linear, much more simple for us when we work with the cards. So multivalent, right? Many definitions, many different meanings, and they're not purely good or bad. They have good, bad, light, or shadow qualities. The tarot symbols, because they're really tied to this archetypal power, they stimulate unconscious knowledge and insight. So when we're working with the cards, when we're learning the symbolic language, if we allow it to, it will open us up, stimulate that unconscious material, and you'll get insights that go beyond the resource of your definitions book. So as an example, the card of death, card number 13 in the tarot, is symbolic. It is not about physical death, right? It's about change, it's about evolution, it's about transformation, it's about cycles. Or the 10 of cups, right? We tend to view this card as very joyous, very happy, an image of emotional fulfillment. But if we remember that the cards are symbolic and multivalent, and they're not just good, it means that the 10 of cups is not always a happy, joyful expression. So we have to keep that in mind. So to read tarot is to learn the language of symbol and archetype. So very quick, our first little mini exercise here. Why do I keep attracting the same kind of partner? So here's an individual who's coming to their tarot cards. They've got their question and they draw the death card. Now, just working off of the imagery, or maybe the definitions that you know about the death card, what might it mean if we're reading it symbolically, right? So this individual is kind of caught in some sort of pattern, perhaps. They keep attracting the same kind of partner that's probably not a very good fit. And in trying to understand, because maybe they're reaching their conscious limitations of why this is happening, they draw the death card. So, how might we interpret this pull? What is the symbolism of death in relation to this inquiry? So, drop your answer in the chat. If you want, it can just be a few keywords or thoughts, or if you have like a little mini interpretation. There are no wrong answers here. We're just kind of playfully engaging to see what comes up with the cards. Cyclical nature of relationships and connection. I love that idea, Krista. this idea of like death as cycles, or that death comes just as winter comes, as the withering of life, and eventually kind of reconnects to a cycle of rebirth, death that flows into its natural cycle. So how might the individual be stuck in one part of the cycle, or stuck in one part of the seasons of change? Marika's saying a fear or being scared of change. Yeah, oftentimes when death comes knocking, people are not open to it. They don't want death. They're scared. They shut the door. So why do you keep attracting the same kind of partner? Death says you need change. You need evolution. Something needs to shift within this dynamic. But if you fear that change, you will constantly kind of fall into the same repetition rather than engaging the next stage of that cycle or transformation. Haven't learned the lesson? Yeah, absolutely. Death brings all sorts of wisdom and insights as it takes you through those cycles of change. And if we're not learning them, we continue to just, it's almost like you have to keep playing out the same issue and over until you learn it. Perhaps I'm willing to look at the reality of the relationship in the face. Yeah. What about this relational dynamic is lacking in the vitality of life? Why does it bring forth death? And sometimes there's relationships that we can engage in that bring death, but through staying connected to one another, you can kind of evolve and transform together. Like the relationship becomes the catalyst for change. That's something that we talked a lot about in our alchemical inner work relationships class series. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to leave your current partner and find someone who's a better fit. Sometimes it's about evolution together. Let's see, anything else? Resisting change. Uh-huh. Repeating patterns as an unconscious defense mechanism. Yep, absolutely. Afraid of losing the old self. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see, attracting the same partner, ask the question passively. The figures on the ground suggest different relational postures, overconfidence, turning away. Yeah, I love what you're getting into because we can pay attention to the imagery of the card and each figure, each color, each item on the card, like as if it was a dream. And so, what does it mean to have, the king, the fallen king, that ruling principle, or the youthful children who are bowing to death, or that you have the clergyman, who's kind of showing his respect or penance towards death. And so you can work with so much interesting symbolism within the card, and you can see everyone's drawn out some slightly different meaning. No one's given the exact same answer, but all of them are really powerful, applicable, and could help support the querent in understanding why they're stuck in this pattern, what's going on, what